Oh. 1972. I'm in 3rd grade. America's in Vietnam. My family is Vietnam. My parents fight all the time and kind of make the kids take sides. So I'm like South Vietnam, and I'm aligned with my mom, the United States. And I share a bedroom with my little brother, North Vietnam, who's aligned with my dad, Red China. Last but not least is my snotty older sister, who will opportunistically align with either superpower. She's France. And she historically tormented my brother and I individually, even though it took time away from other activities she enjoyed. But after joining band, she elects to just, periodically turn us against each other, which isn't hard, given that, my parents fight all the time, and my brother and I tend to have conflicts that echo their fights. And a lot of these fights are border disputes, centered on the nightstand that separates, my bed from North Vietnam's. And these conflicts intensify after my birthday. I've gotten 100 of these little toy plastic green soldiers as a gift from the U.S. And I put them all on, as a defensive measure. I legally put them all on my half of the nightstand with their armaments aimed at my little brother's pillow. And he then illegally crosses the border and attacks my soldiers, and so I counterattack, and I'm on the verge of defeating him when Red China intervenes and I get spanked. So it so happens that at this point in school, we're learning about social justice from our socially progressive, sexy hippie teacher, Ms. Sherwood, who, along with a compassionate female lifeguard at the public pool, will become the prototype for all future mommy girlfriends. So, Ms. Sherwood is teaching us about Gandhi and passive resistance, which sounds like an esoteric topic for 3rd graders, but that's actually a good time to learn it, because that's when it makes the most sense. That, of course, the British would be upset if Gandhi wasn't eating. And so I decide that I'm going to protest, my unjust border disputes making that night, and so we sit down at dinner, and I protest by not eating. And my parents don't ask me what I'm protesting, and basically ignore me, except for an hour after dinner when I try to sneak back into the kitchen, and my dad's like, I thought you were protesting. And, which is kind of mean, although perhaps he was just trying to teach me the value of passive resistance in the real world. And I think the difference was just an aspect of his cryptic teaching method. So, at this point now, I've lost a series of battles to North Vietnam, and luckily, it's Christmas. And the kids have collectively, as a gift, received a chalkboard for our basement. And so my older sister France and I quickly recognized the potential, since my little brother's barely 5 and doesn't know how to read yet. And so we start exploiting his illiteracy by writing pejorative comments about him on the chalkboard, which is doubly effective because, the insults are compounded by his shame over not being able to read. And so one afternoon, we're writing bad stuff about him, and he's usually sitting there crying, and but then he stops, and he's staring at the words. And he says, Mike. And that's not a big deal. I mean, he's been able to recognize his name for a long time. In fact, that's a key element of the abuse. But then he starts struggling through, and he reads his first words. Mike is a dick. And in retrospect, we should have picked a harder word to sound out. And so we immediately, scramble like erase the chalkboard, but he's already running upstairs, and he tells us. As usual, France denies involvement. And in the wake of my atrocities, the U.S. withdraws support and I'm handed over to the Red Chinese for torture. But not before my little brother, perhaps, intuitively sensing that Victor's got to write history, says, "You're a dick." And that night, as I lay in bed, I'm still angry at my brother, but for the first time, I can kind of see like my sister's hand in it, and even like, my parents, how we just are kind of copying just repeating their fights. And it's just a start, and it'll take, 3 or 4 years, but I gradually get to be friends with my brother. Sadly, the U.S. and China never bridged their gap, but they do stay together, connected by financial interdependence and mutual enmity for years and years.